Are you worried about today's dire financial situation?
Put simply, I would argue the Biden economic plan is working.
The storms on Wall Street continued today after regulators seized the assets of Silicon Valley Bank, marking the largest bank failure since the 2008 financial crisis.
Do you worry you'll have enough to pay your mortgage, pay your children's college tuition, enough to retire?
I believe our banking system remains strong.
Regional banks in focus once again today as the market digests the fallout of the First Republic failure.
You have questions, we have answers. It's the Gold Standard with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.
Yes, it is the
In
Gold
the house.
Standard in the house. Welcome to the program, the Gold Standard with Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn. And we are kind of going back to basics this week.
What are
Ken?
we calling this show?
Well, we want to know what fiat money is. The only fiat I know, we were driving around. Remember the little fiat?
Yeah, I do remember those,
I think that was the one that, like, Princess Diana
I think they
was in,
still
right?
have it.
They do, probably,
yeah, it's a new
somewhere.
one. It came out a few years ago. It's a small one.
But
Compact.
We're going to start with what that's all about. And then where we are today, there are a lot of fake leaders. There's a lot of fake money. There are a lot of bubbles that could be popping. And we're going to talk about how gold and precious metals can keep your family safe. If you've been thinking about looking at gold and adding it to your investment portfolio, it's the time to call our friends at Midas Gold Group. You can talk to Ken Russo in person, 855-322-4653, 855-322-4653, MidasGoldGroup.com. But Ken, before we jump into things, we go back to our buddy.
Yes. Tricky Dick. What do you say? I am not a crook. All right?
That's very good.
Let me hear you do it.
I am not a crook.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah, they're all crooks.
This
whole system is so full of
as much
phonies
as
and crooks.
I love going to the Nixon library. I love it. Some of the stuff Nixon did was great.
Yeah. Now, it wasn't White House lawn entertainment. It wasn't, Bidenomics. It wasn't. Fetterman had few nice sound bites this past week.
He called Joe Biden a collapsed bridge, I think.
He might have, yeah,
he
maybe.
Did, and
he
I
doesn't
think he was
remember.
Right. No.
But, yeah, it all started in 71, and fake money, fiat money, and let's just hear a little bit about that for our benefit, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Accordingly, I have directed the Secretary of the Treasury to take the action necessary to defend the dollar against the speculators. I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
Our best interest, right? Now, is that true? Is that really in our best interest, Ken?
Well, they have an unlimited credit card, and the debt went over $32 trillion this past week, and that's what they tell us. So who knows? Maybe it's a couple $100 trillion, but no, it's not to our benefit. Fiat money backed by nothing, just printed out of thin air. What's it really worth? Remember, the price of gold in the early 70s was $30, Jeff.
Wow.
And now it's close to $2,000.
That's amazing.
What's more important is what something cost $30 back in the beginning of the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Now costs $225, $250. So our money continues to lose purchasing power.
But gold doesn't.
Well, typically and traditionally, it's real money and it holds its value. Remember, you were talking about fake this, fake that.
That's right.
There's so much fakeness, but the one real form of money is gold. And how we're going to need that in the future, who knows? We don't know what money's going to look like, but we do want to hold on to something that we could have privately. We do want to hold on to something that's going to traditionally hold its value.
Yeah.
And that's what gold does. Versus our fiat money, which is money that's backed by nothing. It used to be backed by gold. It just buys less and less in the future. Who knows how stable it is? They just keep printing trillions at a time. And our contention, Jen, and I would probably ask if you agree with this, it's going to probably end very badly.
That's what it feels like.
You just can't keep printing and printing and printing and spending hundreds of trillions of dollars, and the whole world is doing it. There's so much debt out there. The safety of the banking system is in question, to say the least. All of these entities are invested in paper assets. How stable is this system? Are they just going to continue to print to, infinity until things fall apart. I mean,
Well, I think that's what they want. A lot of these politicians think that they can win people's votes and they can gather more power by spending. But that money it has no value. The more they push it, the more they print more money. And that's why we talk about gold and precious metals, because they're actually something. They're something you can hold on to. They are backed by the coin or by the gold bar, or in whatever form you get it, they're backed by their value themselves, right?
yeah, and real stuff like
Real
a 1
stuff.
ounce coin that's made by a government mint, or a 1 ounce bar. And clients can call and we'll explain the differences, and we'll explain and make suggestions on what's appropriate. But yeah, I mean, that's what this is all about. And how far are we going to go until we can't go anymore?
Yeah.
You know,
When do we push too far? Let's kind of start back at the beginning, because I want to start back to 1913. We're going to kind of run through this, right?
Yeah, quick.
The Fed.
A quick summary.
A quick summary. So give us the quick summary, because you're the expert here.
Well, the Fed was formed in 1913. Fiat money was kind of in the works, where the government needed to print more to stimulate stuff. Remember, we had the Great Depression in the late 20s and then in the 30s, and that happened to follow a great...
I had the Great Depression in my 20s.
Well, the roaring 20s. Were your 20s roaring? But that kind of went. We had World War II, Vietnam, obviously, and then the government ran into a situation where they needed to, print more money and get rid of the gold standard, because they didn't have enough gold to print as much money as they needed. So 1971, like we just heard,
Goes out the window.
Out the window, fiat money experiment. What that means, that we have all these fiat currencies, they all float against one another, and they all have a value, and they're all toilet paper. And all of these countries are just piling on debt. All of these currencies just continue to buy less and less and less. I mean, let's just summarize it.
Yeah.
Since 1971, the U.S. dollar has lost 97% of its value against gold.
Wow.
In the last 20 years, the U.S. dollar has lost 80% of its value against gold. And even some of these other countries, it's even worse. So that's where we're headed. That's the kind of system that we have. And I would like everyone out there to ask themselves, are you comfortable holding all of your assets in that type of a system?
Right.
Versus diversifying, hedging your bets, giving yourself an opportunity to stay intact. If and when we do crumble or crash, or all this debt just kind of caves in, do you want to financially survive? And do you have a portion of your investments and in your money that's not involved in these markets? Because I think that every single American right now, Jen, even if you live on planet Biden, even if you, whatever, even if you believe in what they're doing, it makes no sense.
I like that. Living on planet Biden.
I mean,
It is really true, though. And consider this, because we talk week after week about it's silly stuff that the government is doing, stuff that doesn't make sense, stuff that we couldn't do in our own small business or in our own household budget, right? They spend, let's be honest, like drunken sailors. So you have that aspect of the dollar losing its value, right? It's becoming very inflated. But you also have a banking system that is really teetering on the line. And this is not fear-mongering. You don't want to be in a position where your bank all of a sudden is out of business, or your bank collapses.
Insolvent.
And then all of a sudden you're looking around going, well, wait a second, all my money is there.
Right.
What am I going to do? So not only, this is a multi-solution opportunity for you when you think about gold and precious metals, because gold holds its value. It's a real currency. It's something you hold on to privately. You don't have to rely on the banking system, and you don't have to rely on a government that doesn't seem to understand that our future is very much at risk by the way that they're handling our economic situation.
Yeah, a very risky situation,
Yeah.
and a very risky environment, Jen. And you have to ask yourself, why would I want all of my assets in that type of a risky environment? I had a client that went to a major bank 2 weeks ago, and they asked for $5,000. This is a different story than Tony Fox. They asked for $5,000 in cash, and she said, well, you're going to have to give us a couple weeks.
What?
$5,000.
They didn't even have $5,000.
They did
in
not
the bank?
have it on hand.
My grandfather had $5,000 buried under a refrigerator, under a tile in his.
No, I'm not saying.
Pretty sad that Bunky had more money than the bank.
Right. Well, I'm not saying that every single branch or every single.
Sure.
All right. But what I'm saying is, how risky is this entire system where there's stories like that, and it's very, very real. It's not made up. It's not conspiracy theory. The system is addicted. We mentioned this last week. It's addicted to all of this spending, and now it's going exponential. It was kind of started out, to a certain degree in the 80s and the 90s, but since the 2000s or so, and since we had that dot-com situation and now the financial meltdown in 2008, which was never fixed.
Right.
Now it's going exponential. So the question is, does that mean that the risk is at an exponential point too? Yes. Does it mean that the bubble is at an all-time high, where the biggest bubble in history? Yes. So what's going to happen if you are frozen out of your money? What's going to happen if your investments just disappear or you're not really sure what it is? We would suggest people to not be in that situation.
Hedge your bets.
That's where gold comes in.
Yeah.
Doesn't it make sense? Take a little bit of money out of the bank or take a little bit out of the markets and put it into something that you could hold on to yourself.
And you're keeping it at home. You're keeping it private. And hello, privacy. Gold is a private transaction. So you don't have the government watching over you. You get to hold on to that.
Monitored money. We're headed towards monitored money. And then for all the people who love silver out there, Jen, silver is money too. We're just talking about, we could only talk about so much in a short period of time every week. And we'll even give silver a little bit more attention
Give it
next
some love.
week. Yeah, give it a little love. But that's what we're talking about. How are you going to be able to survive the upcoming financial meltdown? Because in one way or another, either accidentally or on purpose, it is coming. Are they listening, Jen?
Right. I hope that you are. I hope that you're listening today. And if you haven't gotten gold yet, if you haven't started to think, what happens if you are not prepared? You don't want to be left out in the cold. You don't want to lose all of that money that you've worked so hard for. 855-322-4653. That is the number to call. Midas Gold Group. They are America First patriots standing by to take you through the process of getting gold, maybe, adding it to some existing accounts maybe you already have. 855-322-4653, 855-322-GOLD. That's the number to call, or you can go online always, MidasGoldGroup.com, MidasGoldGroup.com, and you can even go visit them in person. If you are in California or in Arizona, you can check them out, see their locations online.
We're not intimidating.
No.
We're very patient. We're very friendly. We're very trustworthy.
And if gold isn't
informative.
Right, you've told people that. You've told people, hey, come back when your money is in this situation. And
exactly.
That's what I appreciate about you. 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-GOLD, MidasGoldGroup.com. More with the Gold Standard, Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.
Dr. Gorka here. You're listening to The Gold Standard with your hosts, Ken Russo from veteran-owned Midas Gold Group and Jennifer Horn. Owning private money in the form of physical gold and silver is perhaps more important than ever to your long-term financial security. As U.S. banks fail, the Biden administration sends hundreds of billions abroad while depleting our strategic oil reserves. However, the biggest financial threat may be coming from within: Central Bank Digital Currency. The patents have been filed and the big banks have released plans for implementation. Midas Gold Group sees tyrannical implications, the end of cash, the end of financial privacy, big government able to see your every purchase. Could there be ties to social credit? Hear more commentary on the political and economic issues that affect your financial security right here on the Gold Standard. You can create your own Gold Standard with a call to Midas Gold Group, 855-322-GOLD. That's 855-322-4653, MidasGoldGroup.com.
Welcome back to the Gold Standard Radio Show. I'm Jennifer Horn. That is Ken Russo. And I always love hanging out with you. Number one, we have a lot of fun.
Of course.
Number two, I feel like we're really helping people here because there are a lot of folks who are confused about their financial situation, who don't trust that the government is taking care of them. Gold is a great way to take some of that control back, add it to your investment portfolio, keep it at home. It's private, and it just hedges your bet against the government spending and overspending and the craziness that's out there. Midas Gold Group, they are fantastic. Ken Russo is there, so you can call and
Yes.
talk to him. 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-4653, MidasGoldGroup.com. Now, Ken, you sent me an article this week. It's stunning, but tell us what is happening on August the 22nd.
You didn't see this in all the papers everywhere?
You know what? You are my news source, my friend.
Okay. Well, there is a meeting August 22nd. It's called the BRICS Conference Leader Summit Conference.
Oh, it sounds
Did you get an
nice.
invite?
You know what's funny? I think mine got lost in the mail.
Okay.
Maybe.
That's all right. You won't be missing much. But the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, are going to be introducing a new currency called the BRICS Plus currency.
Unbelievable.
Now, we just mentioned 5 countries that belong to the BRICS.
Yep.
Very, intimidating.
Spendy countries,
They're getting
by the way.
cozy, China and Russia. A lot of these countries are getting real cozy. They're watching what's going on our White House lawn and Bidenomics and
Everybody
all
was
this other.
watching
They're
the White House
watching,
lawn
okay?
this
they're
week.
They're not dumb.
Yeah.
They're taking notes. There's 25 other countries that have either expressed interest to join BRICS or possible membership. This is a serious threat, Jen.
So what does that mean? Okay, so you get these countries all together starting their own currency. What does that do first to our dollar?
Well, our contention is that our dollar is headed in the wrong direction and it's losing its grip on world reserve currency status.
Yep.
Now, that's a big advantage for a country to have world reserve currency status, as people are required then to settle commodity trades in dollars or hold U.S. treasuries. So if that weakens, that's just going to weaken our country financially even more. It's going to weaken the buying power that our dollar has because there's not going to be as much demand. It's just a big step backwards. Now, this takes time. It's not a sudden thing, but we're definitely headed in that direction as more countries want to do business in what they call local currencies. And then you have China that wants to do currency.
It's China.
Currency deals with Brazil. That's a fact. We have Saudi Arabia that wants to do LNG and deals with China. It's a fact.
That's eliminating us. What I'm hearing is no United States in all these equations. We used to be the leader, and now we aren't.
Well, there was a big mishap, even as early as the beginning of last year. You remember
His name's
when
Joe.
It is, yes, Ice Cream Joe.
Right.
And he sanctioned Russia after the conflict in Ukraine started. Now, these other countries have to say to themselves, well, if he could sanction them and freeze their money and not allow them to do banking with the SWIFT code, couldn't that happen to us?
Right.
Maybe we ought to kind of lighten up on these U.S. investments and these U.S. dollar-denominated investments. It's a bad move. They weaponized the dollar. Now they're weaponizing other things, even against citizens here in the United States with the DOJ and the FBI. You can't do these sorts of things and be a financial or be a leader. We're definitely doing things that are going to come back to haunt us and haunt our money. And that's what we're talking about here. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on in this world.
Meanwhile, they're telling you everything's fine. The government here, Joe Biden, Janet Yellen, you're hearing everybody say everything is fine. Don't worry. Even with the banks collapsing.
Better than
they
fine.
didn't even blink. They say everything is safe.
They're historical.
Is that true? I mean, can we trust what they're saying?
No. We've been lied to so many times. And these are the same people that are lying to us about our money, that it's safe and that, it's always going to have significant value. They're going to do what's best for them. And the forces that are behind our money are the same forces that have lied about many, many things.
Like the
lied
list is
about,
extensive.
yeah. I mean, we can get into Benghazi. We can get into 9/11. We can get into the Russian hoax. Can we get into the vaccine? There's a zillion things. Who knows? But when it comes to our money, you have to know.
Yeah.
Who knows it's not appropriate.
It's what we're banking
It's not
on.
acceptable.
Pardon
so
the pun.
what could you do that's acceptable in our opinion is to take a step back, take a deep breath and say, hey, this has the potential to end very badly. If not, we all know our money's going to buy a lot less in the future. What could I do about it? Well, what you can do is you can take some money out of the bank, or you can take some money out of the markets, take some money out of your IRAs, transfer it into gold, and have something that has historically stood the test of time, that's not subject to all of this stuff. It's private, something that no matter what, Jen, you and your family can at least count on it to know that it's there.
And it's in your hands. You don't have to rely on anybody else to get it. You're listening to the Gold Standard Radio Show. That's the voice of Ken Russo. I'm Jennifer Horn. Midas Gold Group is a great place to go if you want to start out or if you're already a seasoned investor. MidasGoldGroup.com, MidasGoldGroup.com, 855-322-4653. That's 855-322-GOLD. There are offices in California and in Arizona. You can come in and make face-to-face transactions. You can call. Really, it is up to you. Your comfort is key because this is your money. This is something really important. MidasGoldGroup.com. Now, for those people who are either seasoned investors but haven't bought gold yet, or for people who are just starting out, typically, what is your recommendation as far as, and I know every situation is different, for people when they're thinking about how much gold should be part of their portfolio?
Well, like you said, Jen, it's different for everyone, and we give our opinion. There's some people that are really disgusted with the whole system, and they don't want to have any of their assets wrapped up in the markets or at the banks. That's one discussion or one type of client. Then we have another client that may be younger that might have a lot of different investments, and maybe they might want to only take a portion of their assets and diversify. But the bottom line is with gold, there's a lot of gold companies. There's a lot of places out there that endorse that they're the best. How do you know? Well, find somebody who's reliable, trustworthy. Find people that are always going to be there and answer the phone, whether you're doing any buying or selling. Find a company that is going to give you attention and invest time in you, and that's what we do. You know, even we get many clients that come from other dealers that maybe they're not happy with.
Right.
They can't speak to their representative. They don't want to talk to them, or maybe they just didn't get a deal or a straight, an opportunity that they understood. But the point is that does exist, and we can offer that to people. So we can give them the attention they need in a way that they're comfortable.
What I love is that a lot of times, and I'm just going to say it, you're too classy of a guy, but a lot of times when you're calling numbers, you hear the 800 number, the 855 number, you're calling a call center, and there are order takers on the other end of the line. What's so fantastic about Midas Gold Group is you're talking to your staff. They're not order takers. They're people who actually know the business, who are trained in this, and who can help with your situation. And that's what's so important, that human touch, because when it's your money, you want to be able to trust someone, because the government is lying to us. And best case scenario, by the way, is that we continue to just grow the bubble and it never pops. Worst case scenario is that bubble pops. But if
it's going to be one or the other.
If it does keep growing, what does that mean for your dollar? It means that inflation is going to be high. It means our dollar is going to buy less.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that to me is probably the better of the two outcomes. But, we'll have to see. The people that are pulling the strings here, I don't know if they just want to crash everything or if it's just inevitable because of how far we've come. But the point is that you don't have to lose it all, or you don't have to be financially ruined if and when that does happen.
In our final moments here, when someone calls you, when someone makes that first call to Midas Gold Group, when they pick up the phone and call you, Ken, at 855-322-GOLD, what's the first question that you ask that person?
What are you looking for gold to do for you? What are you expecting from gold? What has you concerned? What's keeping you up at night?
And what do you think most people say? I mean, what's the answer most people give you?
Well, it varies, but I'm very disappointed in what the government's doing. I'm very disappointed in the safety. I don't trust the banks.
Yeah.
I'm very upset about, that my dollar in the future may just disappear or may be worth toilet paper.
Right.
These are some of the things that we hear every day, and come up with some ideas, get to know the clients pretty well, what their capabilities are, because a person who's looking to move $1,000 in the gold versus somebody who's looking to move $1 million in the gold is a little bit different.
It's different. Absolutely.
So it requires some time, but it's not something that needs to be rushed. It's not anything that anybody needs to feel pressured about, but it's extremely important.
But it's a good path to go down and start investigating, and that's what we
Have
tell
some
you to
urgency.
do. Yeah, 855-322-GOLD, 855-322-4653. That's the number for Midas Gold Group, MidasGoldGroup.com as well, 855-322-GOLD. Ken Russo, Always
Yes.
fun hanging out with you.
Goes by too fast.
It
I
really
wish we had
does.
another 30, 40 minutes.
We got to work on that.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you all for joining us. This is the Gold Standard Radio Show. Ken Russo and Jennifer Horn.